Hi, and welcome to the fourth Elicit live stream. I'm Andreas. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Elicit, and Elicit is an AI research assistant. This week, like every week, I'm going to research a random topic that I don't really know anything about with zero preparation, and we'll see how far we get. We'll have a time limit, 45 minutes. I'm going to reset the timer now. 46 minutes. Let's make it 45. And I'm going to do some learning in public, so hopefully it's not too public. Usually I expect between 0 and 1 viewers. Didn't tell anyone about the live stream. I'll be seeing how I can improve Elicit, and I'll take topics in the comments if anyone proposes a topic. I will be using a new notebook interface that we've been building for Elicit. If you'd also like to use it, you can sign up for Elicit Plus, and we'll give access to you quickly. The topic of today is caffeine, and specifically continuous caffeine monitoring. So I'd like to better kind of know, is it possible to build tools like a continuous glucose monitor, but for caffeine? Like, could you have a patch that monitors your caffeine levels over time such that you can remain at a constant level of caffeine throughout the day? And I'll probably just start by researching this fairly directly, and then go into other approaches if I don't find direct research on it, which I kind of expect I won't find. All right, let's start the timer. And here we go. So let's maybe start directly with continuous caffeine monitoring. Okay, effects of caffeine on visual monitoring, continuous measurement of caffeine in adult horses. This one could be relevant. Influence of caffeine on frequency of hypoglycemia. Nope. So it could actually be interesting to first see if there is anything with the keyword continuous caffeine. Maybe even more directly, continuous caffeine monitoring. I wouldn't be surprised if nothing exists here. Yeah, it does not look very promising. So let's go back. And I think we do want to look into this one, continuous measurement of caffeine, even though it's in horses. And we're going to remove all the papers that are not relevant to us. Simultaneous high performance liquid chromatographic termination. It's a bit unclear whether that's relevant in the conscious rat. I'm also going to ask about continuous measurement of caffeine, since this is the title of the first paper here, and see if there's anything relevant. Yeah, that's the paper. Cacao beans. I'll click load more with the paper selected to see if there's something relevant here. Okay, I think at this point we should quickly read this abstract and see if there's something that is relevant to us. Actually, maybe we can do this even more quickly by instead using the chat with papers functionality and ask what, if anything, does this paper say that is relevant to continuous monitoring of caffeine in the blood of humans. Semi-automated microdialysis. Let's ask what that is. Okay, insertion of a small membrane probe into the tissue. So my take is, after about 5 minutes of looking into this, that probably there isn't direct work on continuous caffeine monitoring for humans. The most relevant thing I quickly found is this work on horses, and we might want to find the full text of this document later. But in the meantime, I think it might be better to start with general approaches to measuring caffeine in the blood, and then we can think about how to adapt them to continuous monitoring. How can you measure caffeine levels in the blood? Okay, and we can maybe do a quick summary of these, just so we get a narrative overview. Okay, first, I think that's maybe a bit too high level, and second, I think I do want to filter to somewhat newer publications, let's say in the last 25 years. Then I will ask, what is the method for measuring caffeine described here? I'll explain. Actually, I'm going to add this as a detail. Expand like 5. I'll make it a high quality, high accuracy column. So this is the horse method. I don't think this is a explanation for a 5-year-old. I also will enforce that the abstract contains caffeine. And I will be more explicit here. Explain in simple terms. Well, this is loading. I will already ask for a summary of the relevant methods. Summarize the different methods for measuring caffeine in the blood. And I'll use the paper as full text. This is gonna do a chat stream. So I'm still gonna start looking through this paper by paper. So we have the tissue probe method, semi-automated in vivo microdialysis, still loading. The ELISA method, diluted plasma samples, enzyme immunoassay technique, graphite pencil electrode, okay, the use of antibodies to detect and quantify caffeine. I'm gonna load more papers here just in case there are more relevant ones. It seems like there might be. And I'm going to ask again, what did I ask? Summarize the different methods for measuring caffeine in the blood. For each, describe what property of caffeine it relies on. Explain in simple terms. To race where caffeine and other substances are runners, and the track is full of obstacles. By measuring how quickly caffeine finishes the race, we can figure out how much of it was in the blood. Think of it as turning caffeine into a gas and letting it fly through a tunnel. The speed it flies at its unique fingerprint tell us it's caffeine. Double check system where caffeine is first separated in a liquid race and then passes through two detectors. Confirm it's definitely caffeine. Special lock that only fits caffeine. Make a table of pros and cons of different methods. Small rendering bugs here. We'll fix those quickly. Seems like the cons for all of these is basically expensive equipment, except for enzyme immunoassay. All right, where are we at this point? So let's recap. We started out by directly searching for continuous caffeine monitoring, and they did not find a lot. We found this one paper that is about horses, and as mentioned before, I think it's still worthwhile trying to get the full text of this paper. And then this search was basically like a similar search, just trying a different wording to see if something else shows up. Didn't find anything immediately, and we briefly looked into the paper about horses, and it used a semi-automated in vivo microdialysis technique, which is kind of a continuous sampling using a small kind of membrane probe that was inserted into the tissue. Then we asked more generally how we can measure caffeine levels in the blood, not necessarily continuously, and got a bunch of relevant papers and created a list of different techniques. At this point, I guess it's unclear which of these might be suitable for permanent monitoring. Maybe this is the next step here. Which of these techniques are suitable for kind of continuous monitoring of caffeine in the blood? Okay, microdialysis, small probe into the tissue bloodstream. This is the method used on the horse. It's unclear how large these systems are that are being described here. Okay, this is seems more speculative. Again, it seems more speculative. What was LCMS? MS? Let's go back. That was the liquid chromatography. It's kind of unlikely that this can be made very small. Let's say how large are EIA systems by default? Yeah, generally considered to be benchtop instruments. Yeah, these are huge. I wonder how that worked. Yeah, this one is still, the enzyme immunoassay system is a bit smaller, but still pretty large. So this raises the question how the continuous measurement in the horse paper worked. This was this one. Let's look at it. Let's try to find see if we can find the paper. Looks like the paper might be paywalled. Yeah, we don't obviously have access to the paper. Okay, taking stock again, we have about 25 minutes left. Our take right now is the typical devices for measuring caffeine in the blood are fairly large, between 30 centimeter cubes to more than 60 or 80 centimeter cubes. And now the question is, how small can you make them? Let's find out if there are miniature semi-units devices for continuous monitoring. I'll add a column. Does this talk about miniature or very small device for continuous monitoring? And make this a high accuracy column, and then I'm going to filter by yes, because I think not all of these are actually going to be relevant. And I'm going to say, I'm going to adjust the column to say, what do you say, yes or no? And then we can add a filter for this column. And then I will also add a column that says describe in very simple terms how the continuous monitoring device works. Okay, a small chip that uses tiny beads in a fluke stream to measure insulin levels. Actually, this is a good thing that we also would like to know. What does the continuous monitoring device measure? In a few words. I assume most of these are going to be insulin, glucose. I think generally the idea is a tool that pierces the skin and that then either reacts with or collects a fluid right beneath the skin surface. Enzymes. I'm loading a few more papers here. insulin, glucose. I'm gonna select these and let's maybe just see what happens if we ask which of these papers is most relevant to continuous measurement of caffeine in the bloodstream. Consider which of cause is most similar caffeine. Okay, Cohen, which paper was that? That's the first one, maybe unsurprising. Paper describes a microsphere-based continuous flow immunoassay. Could potentially be adapted for caffeine. Both are small molecules that circulate in the bloodstream. High sensitivity and specificity. Microfluidic lab-on-chip device. Okay. Would require the identification of antibodies or other recognition elements specific to caffeine. Let's see what antibodies exist for caffeine. Okay, this one seems quite relevant already. Permits direct measurement of caffeine in plasma. What is the antibody or mentioned in the paper that reacts with caffeine? Body is mentioned. Give the specific compound name. Anti-caffeine VHH antibody USA2. This one also seems interesting. Okay, and we extracted the specific name of the first paper here. This one we're going to delete, delete, delete. Okay, I'm gonna ask another question here with chat, but I'm not going to use the full paper text initially. For which of these caffeine of the caffeine antibodies mentioned in these papers would it be easiest to build a 11-chip device for continuous caffeine monitoring? Yeah, thermal stability, ease of production, we would need to know. Ladens in 2006, thermally stable. Minimal cross-reactivity. Okay, let's see, this is the paper. Once again, it would be helpful to have the full text here. It's unfortunately behind a paywall. Okay, where are we at? So after our initial search, yeah, let's maybe do a quick recap again. So we first directly searched for continuous caffeine monitoring, and we still only found like one paper here. That was the one about horses. Once again, I think it is worth looking into that one later. Actually, I am going to save this one paper by creating a new table with only that paper because I want to keep it around. So we started out with that, found that, also searched for measurement, same results roughly, and asked a little bit about like how does this work, because it, like all of these continuous measurement devices, it is kind of through a needle or a small membrane probe that goes into the tissue, and here control the flow of perfusate. The fluid, I think, so this controls I assume the blood that goes through the measurement needle, if I understand correctly. How can you measure caffeine levels in the blood? We researched that more generally, and got to the point where we had a list of different methods, made a longer list of papers, and it seemed like for all of these methods the devices are actually pretty big, and so then the question was which of these can most easily be made small. So we searched more specifically for continuous, like miniature devices for continuous monitoring. We get back a few, which we then compare to what could be adapted to caffeine. And the approach was this miniaturized immunoassay device. And to make that work, we needed some antibody that reacts with caffeine. So we looked into which of these exist. Here are a few that seem to come up here. And then we just asked, well, given that we have a few of these here, for which of those does it seem easiest to build a kind of lab-on-chip continuous measurement device? And the one we ended up here is the Ladinson 2006 one. Actually, I'm gonna also save this one now, just to a separate table. So that I can remember to go back to it later. Could have saved it to the same table as before. And so if I wanted to continue from here on, I think what I would do is I would try to obtain these papers in their full text, and I would then first read about like what the approach was that was used here, like how did this semi-continuous measurement of caffeine in the horses work, and is that transferable to humans? And then independently, I would think more about like is the antibody that is being mentioned in this particular paper the sort of thing that we could use in a lab-on-chip device, and then if so, the question is, what other things do we need to build, or what other kind of research problems are there between here and that lab-on-chip device? Presumably, there's more we need besides just the antibody. All right, I think this is about as much as I wanted to know about continuous caffeine monitoring. And if you'd like to stick around for next time, just like subscribe, hit the like button, and see you for the next